lesson from and come off of what he wants to do. He's always going to do what he wants to do. I think he's shown us that. But
I'm shocked they cut Trey Sermon.
You know what? I was on my earlier shows. I've been calling for Trey Sermon to get. I thought that he should be cut. I didn't think that they would do it.
Right.
But yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised that they had learned from years past of holding on to those higher draft picks and kind of wasting time. But I'll tell you what helped them along is, I mean, Jordan Mason, like TDP. I felt like he was learning as he was going, but Jordan Mason, like that, I don't care what level of guys you're playing against.
Yeah.
When you put tape up like he put in during this preseason, I mean, I think it made it easy. It made it an easy call for them.
Yeah, and he probably wasn't going to clear waivers, so they were like, we have to keep him on the team. And he's like a bowling ball, guys don't want to tackle him, and it's going to take more than one guy to bring him, to the ground. So, unfortunately, though, for Trey Sermon, it didn't work out. He just didn't fit the scheme. I'm proud and surprised that Shanahan actually made that move because he didn't fit the system. And let's be real, the only reason he was still here is because he's a third-round pick. If he had been a seventh-round pick, I don't think there's any way he would have made the active roster, yesterday. So, but the 49ers had bigger needs, so they had to make a decision.
And you said it right there. He wasn't a fit for this system. Yeah, I think that he went to the Eagles, and I think he's gonna fit better in their system because he's more of a power gap guy, and they have more of a power gap system. I think that he's gonna be a better fit for them. And so I don't want Niner fans to sit there and like, if he starts showing out, to be like, oh, we should have never let him go, because honestly, he just wasn't fitting the 49ers system.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes guys just aren't a fit, and you got to move on, and sometimes they work out better somewhere else. So kudos to the 49ers for just recognizing it and letting him go.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I guess the 53 is set now. Do you think this is the final roster, or do you think they still try to add somebody? And where do you think that they might try and add somebody?
If they add someone, it could be the free safety position. I know Jimmy Ward, he's going to be out the first month. I'm not sure what free agents are out there at that free safety spot, but there's not a lot of experience, in the secondary. We know Huff, he's entering, his first season as a starter at the strong safety spot. And then Tavarius Moore, he's been here, since 2018, 2019, I believe. So he's got some experience, but I don't think he's the best guy at that position to play free safety. So we got George Odom, free agent, but he's more of a special teams ace. He has started games at the safety position when he was with the Colts, but other than that, we don't have like the captain, the longest tenured 49er, Jimmy Ward. So there's going to be, there's going to be a void there. And not only from Jimmy Ward, what he brings on the field from a physical standpoint, just knowing where guys need to line up, but also he can help Huff. Huff is in his first year starting. So, hey, Jaquiski Tart, I know he's out there, but I wouldn't mind bringing Tart back for sure. I wouldn't mind bringing him back. He's an experienced guy. He knows the system. He's played in a lot of big games, so I definitely wouldn't mind that. I gotta say though, what's good to Blue True? Thanks for tuning in tonight.
Yeah. So. And I appreciate everybody in the chat. I love that everybody getting active in there. And we don't always have time to get to all the questions, but I'm gonna ask this one for Josh Boraz. He has a question for Jay. Who's going to score more touchdowns this year? Miles Sanders, Trey Sermon, or Jimmy Garoppolo?
What's good, Josh? How you doing? It's definitely going to be Miles Sanders. I believe he's the starter in Philly at the running back position. So yeah, he'll definitely score more touchdowns if he stays healthy. That's for sure. And hopefully, I don't know how the rest of the Niner Empire feel, but hopefully, I don't want to see Jimmy G in any games this year. I think that would be a best case scenario for the 49ers. What's good? Hey, Leave His World. I think that'd be best case scenario for the 49ers. I want Trey to get as many snaps as he can get, because we know Trey Lance is the future, present and future of this team. So I only want to see Jimmy unless Trey gets hurt, and hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And so why do you think they chose not to bring Tart back? What is Tart radioactive? Like I feel like he's I mean he knows the system. He
Right,
knows the system. He's not terrible. He wasn't
right.
terrible for us. I mean, he had injury issues, but why did and this is the thing, he has the speed to be able to cover for I feel like to cover for Jimmy also to be at least serviceable in that spot.
Yeah.
Like why do you think they just don't want to bring him back?
Well, throughout his tenure with the Niners, he did battle injuries, so reliability and they say availability is the best ability, and that was
That's
hey,
true.
he was lacking somewhere in that department.
Mhm.
Also, I'm sure he doesn't want to take, he doesn't want to make the vet minimal. I'm sure he wants to make more than that. And the 49ers, we can afford, if we want to pay him 3 million, whatever, like the 49ers can do that. I think we have about 7 million in cap space. But I think that dropped interception. I know, hey, some fans say, hey, I'm glad that he accepted responsibility and he owned up to it. And other fans are like, man, how could you drop that? That could have changed the complexity of the game. But I think that's part of it. And also, I think the 49ers, they wanted to ride with Huff. I think that's the
Yeah.
main reason that they drafted Huff. He's a great special teamer, and they want to give him an opportunity to, perform in defensive sets. And I think he is a thumper. We saw it in preseason.
Yes.
He gave that
He
rookie a
likes to lay
welcome to the
hats.
NFL hit. Yeah, so that's what you need at that strong safety spot. Someone who can play
Yeah.
close to the line of scrimmage, lay the hammer, be great in run support. And I think there's a little that leaves to be desired with him in zone coverage.
Mhm.
But I think he'll get better as long as the Niners give him an opportunity, and as long as he has the tutelage from the secondary coach. I think he'll get better. So I think the main reason they wanted to give Huff an opportunity to start. But I think I wouldn't mind Tart coming back, though. I would say that. I would say that.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Huff. Like, I think that he's a very instinctual player. I know that that's like the first word everybody uses with him, but I just look at Huff and as he's only going to get better as he gets to play more. He's kind of like Trey in that aspect, and I think that that the man, I am blanking on our defensive coordinator's name.
Miko Ryans, D'Amico
D'Amico
Ryan.
Ryan. Like I think D'Amico Ryans has a lot of faith in Huff, like to the point to where because he communicates. He's a very talkative guy. I don't know if you heard them on Brick by Brick, but
Mhm.
he talks a lot all
Yeah, on the
throughout the
field.
game on the sideline. So he communicates a lot, and I think D'Amico Ryans was really pushing him to be that communicator on defense. So I think that he's just going to be. I think he's going to show out this year at that strong safety spot. But I think that they're going to use they had planned on using a lot of three safeties, and
Right.
I think that that's what the league is kind of moving towards instead of
Yeah.
having those all those linebackers in. But
Right.
yeah, I'm really I'm really kind of upset that they didn't bring Tart back because I just think that he's a guy that could have filled in at least, and he wasn't getting paid on the Eagles. Like I think he got
Right.
like 2
Right.
mil.
Right.
Like they
Wasn't
could have
anything
afforded 2
excessive.
mil.
Yeah.
Like come on,
I don't
just bring
know.
him
I
back.
don't know. I don't know if Tart would want to come back and have to compete for that starting strong safety
That's
spot. Like
true.
what if the 49ers say, hey, Jaquiski, we'll bring you back, but you got to compete with Huff. He
But I
may
mean, you got
only be
dropped.
willing to accept the starting role with starting cash, So
That's true. That's true.
but I like what you said. They will run that 3 safety look. So they could have, Tart, Odom, and Huff back there, or you could put in Tavarius Moore. So but yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see what happens in the next few days. The only thing is if they bring in Tart, who do they take off this roster? So
that's true. Like
that's
well, I
another
mean,
thing.
I think that might spell the end for what's his name? Gibson. That's on the
Uh,
practice squad.
right,
Like
right.
I think that they would try and sneak somebody else on the practice squad and just get rid of Gibson. But like,
Yep.
but this is a great question. Follow question: are the 49ers comfortable using Jimmy G in garbage time, or would it lead to Trey Lance? And I think we're just going to see old boy Purdy, like and
Yeah,
myself. Like I think
yeah.
that's what we would see, and I like Purdy. Like I think Purdy looked really good in the preseason, especially for being a rookie. Like I mean, he made a couple of Jimmy throws across the middle, like getting picked off by linebackers. But it is what it is. He's a rookie. How do you
That
feel about that?
that's a great question because Jimmy G is, an important part of this team. He's the best backup quarterback in the NFL. And in garbage time, you don't want to risk him getting hurt because then if Trey gets hurt, you got two of the, better quarterbacks hurt, and then you got to go with Purdy. But it would be hard for me to see Jimmy not in there. So let's say week 1 against Chicago, it's fourth quarter, 10 minutes left. The Niners are up, 34-10 or whatever. So I would be, because you need Jimmy G to get in there. You need him to, get the reps. He does have a few new wide receivers he'll be throwing to, a few new running backs he'll be handing off to. So he needs reps too, right? He needs game reps.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe you put Jimmy in for 2 series and then you put Purdy in, maybe, but I think Jimmy needs his reps too.
Yeah. I look at it as he does need his reps. I mean, because he hasn't had any offseason.
Right.
Basically, he's just been throwing on the sideline. So
right.
I mean, I think maybe 1 game or 2 games, like they might have him. I think it just depends on what time of the year it is. Like in my opinion, but I think that they want. I think that's why they're keeping Brock Purdy on the active roster. For a couple of reasons. I think that could be one of the reasons, so that in garbage time they don't have to put Jimmy in. But the other reason, of course, is they want that cost control on Purdy's salary. They don't want to release him and then you lose that cost control of having him for like 4 years at that cheap rate. But yeah, it's that's a really good question, Josh. Like and we'll see, like, I guess during as the season goes along. But I want to get back to Trey Sermon a little bit. So he was cut, and I don't think it was a surprise to all of us by what we saw in preseason, but was it a surprise when they did it? Like that they did it a day later than everybody else. And do you think that was a little bit of strategy?
Yeah, I was surprised. First, I was surprised that Shanahan and Lynch owned up to a mistake, because we've seen in the past where they kept Jalen Hurd, far too long, never played a game in the regular season. But I guess his issue was a little bit different. His was just injuries, but they kept him. I think he was also a 3rd round pick. So I think, though, if I had to, I think it was planned that way. I think they were waiting to add to that offensive line. And as soon as they saw someone who could possibly fill a role, they were like, okay, well, we'll bring him on. And where do we take from? And it was Trey Sermon. Unfortunately, he did not really earn a spot on this roster. I think he did get better, and he was working out in training camp. I guess he had all the right signs. I thought the last preseason game, I thought he was decent. It wasn't great at all. I thought he looked good in like the shotgun pistol runs. He looked good there, but obviously it wasn't enough. And when you have UDFAs like Jordan Mason, and then you have another 3rd round pick in TDP come on to the scene, unfortunately Trey Sermon became expendable. So I'm wishing him the best. There's no ill will towards Trey Sermon. It just didn't work out for whatever reason.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Like